Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for coming back to our podcast, Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan. We love the fact that you are sending us your comments. You are so involved in everything, every podcast that we have done so far. So we hope that you will be involved in this one too. And we are glad to have you. For those new ones that are coming to our podcast right now, I am Virginia Prodan, the host of Courageous Leadership with Virginia Prodan. I am an international human rights attorney, an author, a Tyndale House publisher who published my book, Saving My Assassin. It's my memoir. You can find it at virginiaprodanbooks.com/product/book, and tells a story about life under socialists and communists. As an attorney, I defended human rights and Christians under communists. I am the host of this podcast, and I love to train and teach you to live a life of significance and success. That it's possible. It is possible in the power of Christ, and it's possible to do it in America. Even though in the last 30 something years that I have been here, I have watched America being changed in a negative way in so many ways. But still, America still remain the best country in the world. And I know our our guest, Mr. Jason Ho, will tell you this. He is the CEO and founder of Teclium.com. He is a recognized leader in semiconductor technology, specialized in integrated circuit design and emphasize on real life AI technology. One thing that impressed me the most in his bio is the fact that he has experience leading custom chip design for the F-35 fighter jet that make him unique in and qualified to comment on everything about the AI, national security, technology innovation, and many others. But before we start talking about all of this, I would love for our audience to know a little bit about you. As we talked before we started this podcast, you were born in Taiwan. You know the power and the atrocities of communists and socialists. You came to America when you were 27 years old, and you know the benefits of America. Can you tell us a little bit about your history and your parents and how you came to America?
I think I have a unique background, and my father was the national general, and he fought with American soldiers side by side during World War II. My father took over Taiwan back to 1945 from the U.S. Army, and Chiang Kai-shek, and that's the very famous leader in the Chinese recent history, took Taiwan 1949 because my father was not aligned with Chiang Kai-shek, even they are same nationalist. And so my father was put in jail, and the U.S. government, the people my father know, they helped my family. They moved to America, and I've been left alone in Taiwan because I have a huge gap with my family in the back to I think the 1960s, 1970s, we must do a military service before we can leave the country. So my family came to America first. I was grew up alone in Taiwan. So I have a very unique background and also understand the reality of the society more than probably anyone
So you
in that
came
period.
when you were 27 years old?
Yes, I came to America, and because my family they're all here, I came here. I received the permanent residence from my family, and I studied in the Penn State University. That started to change my life. That's how I get involved F-35 program.
Yeah, it's one of we have a lot of things in common about that. I came to America not knowing any word in English because it was against the law in communist Romania to learn English. If you learn English, you're supposed to be an enemy of the state. So we didn't learn English. I knew five other languages, but not English. When I came to United States of America, I came as a political refugee because President Ronald Reagan um, organized my release from prison and from house arrest and so forth. And I didn't know one word in English. I didn't have any money. By the grace of God, I learned English. I went back to law school, this time in Dallas, Texas at SMU. So I graduated twice from law school, one in Romania and one from America. And I opened my law firm. I wrote my book and raised my three kids, and all of them graduated, one SMU, one Harvard Law School, and one Air Force Academy. America is the best country in the world. And when you see people demonstrating in the street, or young people in college saying that they want socialism, we both know that those people are brainwashed. They have no idea that socialism and communism is a prison land.
That's true. And to grow up in Taiwan, that's kind of unique because Taiwan is U.S. ally. Most people believe Taiwan is on the American side, and people are fighting against uh, communists. And Taiwan is very important, playing very important role. But in reality, that's a little different. And when I was young, and just like Regina and think everything is beautiful, everything is possible. Always keep our mind hopeful, especially come to America. We believe this is a new territory. We can and find a new ground to do new things. That's reality. That's true. And without America, that's impossible for a person from Taiwan barely speak good English, but they can get involved. The very, very important project, the Joint Strike Fighter project, becoming lead designer for the F-35 flight control and image display system, which is the heart and brain of F-35. That's the part of America. It is very unique than other nations, and also it's very hard for people who grow up in America understand that this is the only land we call opportunity land. This is not calling it just for namesake. This is really and we can express our ability in this here.
Yeah, you are so right, because this is the only land where you can work hard. I remember working hard, like working 20 hours a day, because I had to work harder than any Americans, to speed up the rebuilding my life. But I don't regret that. In fact, my kids believe that that's the way life should be, to work hard. And they did work hard and accomplished lots of things in life. But I am very very disappointed with all the DEI and everything, and I'm grateful that now President Trump is our leader, and he tries really hard to get rid of all this with the executive orders and others, and many and take China to the reality of who China is. And by the way, you are saying China knows our secrets. What do you mean by that?
China is very different. Chinese history is very different than other nations. When we learn the Western history, we talk about wars, battles, how people fight on the battlefield to gain political power, to gain their agenda or their belief into the society, into the ground, onto the standing on the ground. But China is very different. Chinese history, if we look at least 5,000 years history back, China really fight on the battlefield. And because they prefer to steal, they prefer to play tricks. And that's something I always try to alert people when dealing with China. This is not a traditional war people are facing. And this is a very, very different type of practice, which Westerner is not familiar with, especially when we've been brainwashed, we've been educated under the American education system, and we are really easy to forget how China using all type of method, all type of possible means to change our society.
So for Americans, that they have no idea, about this. They never learn. Some of them, they don't want to learn. Give us some example of how Chinese people, because we hear people even in California or in other states that came here and develop businesses, and they send money to the government, or they are spy for the Chinese government. Give us examples of how they fight. So maybe we don't even pay attention to that.
First, we have to understand. Always, I try to explain the first difference is Chinese carry no flags. It means they can be any side if necessary. Just like in China back to the early and the 1900s and the early 20th century. And most communist leader, they are also nationalist leaders and very difficult for American to understand. Just like person can be the Republican president candidate, but also can be Democrat and president candidate at the same time. So China, that happened. The Chinese founder, they have an important position. They play an important role in the Communist Party, but also they play identical important role in the Chinese Nationalist Party. So China is different from America, the same as every ancient country, and the family is above everything. So no matter what flags they carry, actually China is under few families' influence, and that has been true for thousands of years. For those families, they look at America, this is a new country just with a few hundreds history. They think they can easily manage and overcome anything they need to do in America.
So when I hear the word, and when I hear you saying Chinese carry no flags, to me the meaning is they don't have loyalty to anyone. Is that what you mean? Because I know that they in China they don't have freedom of speech. If you say something about the dictator there, you will be in jail. The entire family will be destroyed. That's how communist works. But when you said they carry no flags, do you mean that they are not loyal? If even if they come here, they will not be loyal to the American culture or to America.
And to understand China history or Chinese power structure is sophisticated. When I say carry no flag, for example, most Taiwanese elites, leaders, not every one of them, but most of them, they share the same blood with the communist leaders. So this is a Chinese way. They play both sides. They play your enemy, also they play your friends. And in Chinese history, they have been learned and learned well enough. They will use the friend side to destroy the enemy. So from the enemy side, they will have a Chinese Communist Party to be the American adversary, to be enemy. But in the other side, they will use Taiwan government like a U.S. ally fighting against communists, be the American friend. But actually, Taiwanese elite, China communist, and the people in power, they are from the same family. They are working together. They are playing both sides. If use the common word, they just play good cop, bad cop games, but they more in depth, and they use the two sides method to confuse people, to make things complicated, to help the communists maneuver in the democracy system like America.
So, in other words, when they come here, but if the head of the house is still loyal to Chinese, the entire family has to be loyal to Chinese, not to the American, to America or to American people.
That's for sure. And usually, like we grew up in China, we learned enough, and grew in Taiwan, and theoretically, I'm still Chinese. We have learned enough. And when the people say they are against Communist Party, you have to be very careful because we don't know this is true or this is false. This is trap or this is something, and really something played against the party. It makes us difficult because through this method, and they try to smear everything to blur all the borderlines. So we cannot tell the difference. We can look at the Western culture when we engage in war, and I'm not talking about a socialist or communist. In the Western culture, engage in war, the people still live a life. But for the communist China, that's different. They don't care personal life. They just want to gain their interest. They just fulfill their greed, whatever they can do. They don't care the method. They don't care any virtue. They don't care any values, and
Yeah,
they
I
just want to
totally
achieve.
understand because under communist regime, you are a subject to the leaders. You're not a human being. Your life doesn't count. You have to repeat what the leader says. You don't, you put in danger your entire family. No question about that. But even with this, how do you explain that China, who for so many years, maybe it's our fault, the Western civilization, we knew that they steal our uh, intellectual property and others, they got to a point where they want to compete with us or even to be the superpower in AI or other type of technology. How do you explain that?
So first, I want to let people know semiconductor industry, also the communication industry. That's two important industries. Back to 1978, I wrote in my book, Deng Xiaoping already targeted those two industries. That's very, very early years, 1978. He targeted those two industries, must gain control of those two industries to fulfill their greed to control the world. And to do that, we look at the semiconductor industry today. Every leader of the semiconductor companies, we talk about NVIDIA, AMD, TSMC, Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Corporations, they are all blood connected. They are all from the same family, all Chinese, all single side family. They control those technology. So when we talk about the
Oh,
stealing,
that
I always
that's
try to.
true because yeah, in communist country you have not you don't have private property. The communist has private property. You just work for them. It's not, you don't have that. No matter how much intelligence and innovation you put into that, it's because you are subject to the dictator, to the regime. Your work is part of the government, not yours. What do you think will be the implication of President Trump recent executive orders that against China or against every country that will steal our intellectual property?
Trying to mention something about Taiwan. I think that's very unique to most and the former administrations, even the Trump first time. I think Trump make a very important statement. Trump mentioned Taiwan took American semiconductor business away, and Trump made the same statement repeatedly. I think that's very, very important. Also, this alarming message to everyone because people might think Taiwan is American ally, but actually, when we look at those big companies, just as Virginia mentioned, China, their interest is not a personal game. Their interest is not how much money you have because it doesn't belong to you. Everything belongs to the power regime, and they own everything. So their intention is how to control, how to manipulate, how to serve the greater family need. That greater family, just the family in control, sitting in power for China for thousands of years. They have no interest about the Chinese people. They have no heart towards the and the human being around the world. And most importantly, they don't have faith. They don't believe in God.
What do you think? I know for sure that everybody who comes to study here, that it's from Taiwan or from China or from any communist country, you have to have approval of the government. And the approval comes with you spy in America. So, how do we look and see those foreign students coming to America? You know, many of us, we invite them in our home, we support them and everything. What's the best approach?
always let people know China is not a free country. I think Virginia knows that very well. Not everyone can come to America to study. To get a passport, you need a government approval. You need to go through a lot of inquiries to make sure you'll be loyal or you'll be stupid enough to follow the communist propaganda. If you don't fulfill those tasks, and you won't be able to come to America to study. So people just say those Chinese abroad, and I think this is China. This is how China does. Or this is how China goes. It is not. Those Chinese is a unique segment of China's society that only counts about 3% of Chinese population. And maybe 3% seems small, but China have 1.4 billion people, so 3% still counts, and tens of million of Chinese and going around the world. So it's very hard for us to tell the difference. So if go into the details, it's quite complicated. But most people outside China have to pay attention because everyone can come out, as Virginia mentioned.
What is the role of the private sector investment in driving AI innovation in
So
America?
this is a very unfortunate front, especially talk about AI. I feel pretty sad because and AI is very important agenda for China. And always I want to remind people when we say AI, AI itself is harmless. But the problem is AI today need a very large amount of data. Where the data is coming from? Who collects data? Why they need so much and the data and to make AI running? That's the trouble, and that's becoming intentional. And you can the smear campaign will make the focus to the people, and people doesn't want to touch that part where the data is coming from. So China right? It pushed the world because China driving the COVID is not from the lab, so what has to follow? And Hollywood or any company talk about against China, even my book talk about something really against China, it will be censored. So China use money; they know how to use money to control people. So in that sense, it's very hard to get the truth out. So they use AI. AI is connected to the search engine, and AI will influence our thinking process. And search engine also will influence how we get information. So AI and search engine, they are highly related, both operate on data. So if we don't talk about the data, how data coming from, who control data, who manage the data, that's the biggest problem for AI development today.
So in America, this administration is trying to help the private sector to have freedom and not to have too many rules and regulations from the government, which is good. So the private sector can grow. But what can you do in this area of AI? We don't want, the information and personal information to be collected, but we don't want regulation. Where is the middle?
It is a difficult path because AI, especially the big data, data as data collection done by the AI, there's a loophole in our law. And if human collect any privacy information from anyone, they becoming a violation of privacy. But what if they use AI? And similarly, if you file the insurance claim to the health company, if you be denied, health companies is reliable if they made the wrong decision, deny your health care, cause you serious ill, and even to death. They have to be responsible. What if those judgment done by AI? We are going to sue. This is the difficult part. So look at AI, we look at two issues. First, AI can collect data without any limitations. This is a loophole in our law, and they can bypass because it's not done by human, so they can do whatever they like. And the second, they use AI can bypass any legal responsibilities, and from the insurance, from the lawsuit, from the automobile industry, and that becoming a consensus. AI is very important. We must follow the trend with AI. But if we follow that direction, actually, the damage to American society is it's very difficult to have it reverse the path.
Thank you so very much for telling us all those information. I am amazed at how much you can learn from a specialist like you, not only about the socialists and communists, but also about the technology and how to protect yourself and so forth. Thank you so very much, Jason, for coming to our podcast and sharing those valuable information.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for coming here. I cannot wait to to hear from you what exactly you got out of this podcast. What is your next step, and what you learn, and what you want to learn more? We can have Jason Hall for another podcast and send us your questions. Well, until next time, I hope that you go to virginiaprodanbooks.com and read Saving My Assassin, my memoir, and you learn a little bit more about socialism and communism because it's not a laughing matter. So we look forward to hear from you, and we are so grateful for your participation, for your support. You can um, listen to our podcast anytime we have it, and usually we have Wednesday and Saturday at 10 o'clock. Until next time, we love to hear from you. Don't forget to send us your comments and even your questions. Until next time, God bless you. Bye bye.